Hi there, Smart Driver, talking to you about defensive driving strategies, habits, and techniques that you can put in place to keep yourself safe and prevent being involved in a crash. So we're talking about smarter defensive driving, minimum safe distance between your vehicle and other vehicles on the roadway. Because as I say, if you are not near anything, it's less likely that you are going to hit something. So minimum safe distance between your vehicle and other vehicles on the roadway. And that minimum safe distance is a 3 to 4 second following distance when you're driving in a forward motion. It's 1 meter minimum between your vehicle and vulnerable road users, cyclists, motorcycle riders, pedestrians, kids on e-scooters, those types of things, and stopping back in traffic 1 vehicle length. And this is your strategy, your defensive posturing against being rear-ended when you are stopped in traffic. Couple of resources to have a look at. Have a look at the podcast for new drivers, defensive driving, specifically for new drivers who are at the highest risk of being involved in a crash in the first year of driving, because they're still trying to figure out the limitations and capabilities of the vehicle that they are driving. And I put a question up on the community tab a few days ago about what is the most common crash amongst new drivers, and it is single vehicle crashes. In other words, they fall asleep, they drive off the roadway, they're going too fast, they go around a corner, they lose control of the vehicle. Know that if you are a new driver, especially if you're driving at night and coming home late, that this is potentially what could happen. Car and truck crashes, big semi trucks running cars off the roadway at, guess what? Off ramps on interstates. Take particular note of on and off ramps on interstates to keep yourself safe when you're driving on those types of, on those limited access highways. What is defensive driving? Driving in a manner that allows you to make allowances and compensate for the errors of both yourself and other people on the roadway, because we all make mistakes when we're driving, and know that driving is a social activity. If you communicate effectively about what you're doing, and when I say communicate effectively, you are being proactive on the roadway. You're not like switching lanes and then one flash on the signal because, oh, that's what I need to do, but you're not, it's not doing anything. If you communicate effectively and signal before you move the vehicle, other people could potentially help you out. In addition to that, defensive driving, you're creating conditions that you can control what happens to you most of the time when you're driving in different environments. Because when you're driving, you are moving, and you move from one driving environment to another very quickly. For example, you can be in a suburb or residential area driving along, and then all of a sudden you get out onto a major road, you're into roundabouts, and you're into the downtown core of the city. And then within another 3 or 4 minutes, you're into an industrial area and surrounded by big trucks on the roadways and those types of things. Space buys you time, time buys you options, options prevent crashes. Smarter defensive driving. Very few defensive driving models define what the problem is that you are facing. What are the habits, skills, and strategies that you're putting in place? What is the problem? The problem is social driving. It's the way that other people drive after they get their driver's license. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Following too close, stopping too close in traffic, not coming to a complete stop at stop sign intersections, eating, drinking while driving, talking on their cell phones. All kinds of things happen when people are driving, and driving is a social activity. You are getting along with other people, regardless of, the fact that they are in a metal box with rubber tires on it. We are still participating in a social activity. The tools that you have in your smarter defensive driving toolbox are space management, speed management, observation, and communication. This is what you're doing to keep yourself safe on the roadways and reduce the chances of you being involved in a traffic crash. Minimum safe distance between your vehicle and other vehicles on the roadway. Not other vehicles, other road users, because if you're not near anything, you're not going to hit something. You can always manage the space in front of your vehicle. As we said, if somebody else cuts in, you just let off the throttle. They're going to be going faster than you anyway, so they're not going to be there very long. Let them go and have their crash somewhere else. Too close to other road users and fixed objects, you need to have 1 meter of space, 3 feet between your vehicle and other road users on the roadway. So this happens at crosswalks, and this is my pet peeve when I'm walking. We were coming home this afternoon after picking the kids up for school. Somebody comes down the crosswalk at the roundabout, and they're not looking to the left, and the person's coming from the left, and they got to the middle of the roundabout. Well, they're right across the crosswalk when they came to a stop, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. There's some poor traffic engineering at the roundabout, no doubt. The crosswalk is far too close to the roundabout, but you need to be on high alert when you're coming into an intersection. And a roundabout is an intersection, and it is the place where you are most likely to encounter vulnerable road users when you're driving. Stopping back one vehicle length in traffic. There are several reasons for doing this. First and foremost, it is your defensive posturing against being rear-ended. If you change your mind or the vehicle in front of you breaks down, you can move out and around that vehicle without reversing. And being able to see the tires making clear contact with the vehicle works with any vehicle, passenger vehicle, trucks, buses, transit buses, whatever, okay? It always works. For those of you in Europe and other places in the world where they mostly drive manual transmissions, if the car in front of you rolls back, it's not going to roll into you. And in my utopic world where I, just dream and traffic is wonderful, if everybody stayed back one vehicle length, the whole pack of cars could take off from the traffic light when the traffic light goes green together, and you would reduce traffic jams. You would facilitate traffic flow at the intersection. But I digress, and I dream about some weird things that other people probably don't. Out on the highways, out on the freeways, stay out of the clusters, and you can probably see that down here on the right. There's a cluster of vehicles here. Stay out of those clusters. Drive in the spaces between the clusters of vehicles. I know that this is not always a possibility, especially on highways and freeways. People jam up, and you can't get around them. You got to go through the cluster, but be careful, okay? Be prepared to back off. There was a video on social media a couple of weeks ago of a road rage incident, a truck driver with a passenger vehicle. And the passenger vehicle's brake checking him and do all kinds of things. If somebody's doing that to you in road rage, you need to disconnect, because sometimes we get emotionally involved when we get angry on the roadway, because driving is emotional. And when we become emotional, it's a 4-year-old and 27 lizards they're at the helm of the ship, because we've become angry and our primal brain has taken over, and we are no longer thinking clearly or rationally about what we're doing. So if you were engaged in a road rage incident like this one, where the truck driver's low, oh, I'm right, the other person is brake checking me. If the other person is brake checking you and driving around you and trying to get in front of you, just pull off the road and stop. Just stop. Off the side of the road, okay? And on the right shoulder of the road, be predictable as you can. Don't stop in traffic. Disengage to keep yourself safe. And on highways, freeways, drive in the spaces between the cars. Keep your 3 to 4 second following distance. Use cruise control, because that reduces one of your distractions when you're out on the roadway, because now you don't have to monitor your speed, because you know that it's on cruise control. You know what speed you're going. You're going to increase your fuel economy. You're going to reduce your stress and anxiety. You're going to be more relaxed, and you're going to reduce your chances of having a speeding ticket, because you're on cruise control and you know how fast that you're going. Speed. By controlling speed, you can control space around your vehicle and keep yourself safe. Always have a buffer of space. Always have that minimum safe distance between your vehicle and traffic on the vehicle. Who's driving? If you were tailgating or somebody else is tailgating you, you don't have control of your vehicle anymore. You are now at exponential risk of being involved in a crash or potentially a rear end crash. One of the goals, one of the transitions in the smarter defensive driving is that you want to move from being retaliatory and reactionary. It was what I was just talking about in terms of the road rage incident, where a driver feels that you did something wrong and they have to retaliate. They have to brake check you, get in front of you, slow down, give you the finger, tell you you're number one, those types of things. This is another reason why people tailgate you, because they think that you did something wrong and they need to communicate to you in no uncertain terms that you're an idiot and you don't have the first clue how to drive. This is what they're trying to communicate. And the position of the vehicle, the speed of the vehicle in relation to other things on the roadway communicates intent, and it communicates what people are doing. And they're telling you that you are a dummy, you are driving too slow. And if you let the lizard and the 27 4-year-olds take over, what's going to happen is that the primal brain is now doing this, and the whole thing has descended, and it's this cat and mouse thing where it keeps getting ramped up until eventually it results in a traffic crash on the roadways. So you want to move to being proactive and predictable on the roadways when you're driving. Predict traffic patterns, and traffic patterns are going to change depending on the time of year. And this is why I advocate for new people not to postpone their driver's test until the spring, because there are fewer vehicles on the roadway in the winter time. There aren't camper vans, there's no motorcycles, there's the odd cyclist, but for the most part there aren't cyclists on the roadway in the wintertime when you're driving. So it's easier to pass your driver's test in the wintertime. But take note of the different vehicles that are out there. And again, this comes back to truck driving, where truck drivers are always going at four-wheelers. People driving passenger vehicles are like, oh, the four-wheeler did this and the four-wheeler did that, whatnot. People driving passenger cars don't know anything about how to drive a bus. People driving passenger vehicles don't know anything about a semi-truck, its increased blind areas, those types of things. You can have community outreach education programs until the cows come home. You are never going to educate people in passenger vehicles about semi-trucks. They don't care, they don't know, they don't want to know. So it is up to the people driving the buses, the people driving the semi-trucks, to compensate for the errors of people driving passenger vehicles, because they don't know anything about the larger vehicle that you're driving. They don't care how heavy it is. They don't care how long it brakes and how much distance it takes for it to brake and those types of things. They don't care. They don't know. They don't care. They don't want to know. So if truck drivers keep saying, oh, the four-wheeler did this and the four-wheeler did that, no, you didn't do your job right, because they don't know anything about it, and you need to just go to the default that they have complete and utter ignorance. Predict traffic patterns. Traffic patterns are going to change at different times of the year, and this is why you want to have that 3 to 4 second following distance in front, so that you can read traffic patterns and predict the actions of individual road users on the roadway. Springtime, you're going to have motorcycles. Summertime, you're going to have RV units. And in the wintertime, you're going to have snowmobiles on the roadways, especially depending on where you live in those types of places, especially if they have a lot of snow and whatnot. Interpret the actions of individual road users looking farther down the road. And this construction merge here tells you that there is a choke point, which means that 2 lanes go into 1 lane, and you are going to have a choke point. And do not engage in the zipper merge. It doesn't work. It will never work. It's one of those things that everybody has to do it or nobody does it. It doesn't work. Maintain your space, protect your space, have your minimum safe distance, move over as soon as you can, keep yourself safe, and do not merge at the choke point, because you have given up all your power and all your control. Merging at the choke point in a construction zone or any other place where there is a merge is the same thing as tailgating. It's that dangerous. Don't do it, okay? Because you've given up all your power and you're hoping that the person in the lane, on the through lane, is going to create a space and let you in. And they're probably not going to let you in, because it's like, I already let somebody in. I'm nice, but I'm not letting more than one person in nice. So, happy days. All right, mapping intersections, tracking road users. MIT. Not just a university in Boston. Mapping intersections, tracking road users. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. And every one of these cautionary signs on this slide give you advanced information that you are approaching an intersection. Map intersections, track road users. And I was talking about in the introduction with the truck driver on the freeway, off-ramps, on-ramps are a type of intersection. When you are on the interstate, on the freeway, on the motorway, pay attention to where the on-ramps and off-ramps are, and pay attention to traffic getting off, moving lanes, merging, and those types of things. Because if you can maintain your space and figure out what individual road users are doing at the on-ramps and off-ramps, it'll keep you safe. Same thing with intersections. Map and track road users as you're approaching, figure out where they are, where they're going, proceed with caution, and continue to map and track those road users as you're proceeding through the intersection. Good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. So we're talking about defensive driving, keeping yourself safe. 2 to 4 second following distance in front of your vehicle at all times. Minimum 2 seconds, okay? You don't want to get closer than that. And we've had questions here. I believe, who was it? Paul asked me about bumper-to-bumper traffic in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Atlanta, Georgia. It doesn't matter where you get bumper-to-bumper traffic. When you're in a slowdown and bumper-to-bumper traffic, you always want to be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the roadway. You never want to be more than one vehicle length between you and the vehicle in front. Because when you're going slow and it's stop and go and it's stop and go and it's stop and go and stop and go and you're bored and you're like, oh my God, the traffic just will not go. You get distracted. You start doing stuff in the car and you're, I'll have a sandwich, I'll drink a coffee and those types of things. And you get distracted. If you are closer than one vehicle length to the traffic in front of it, next thing you know, you've ran into the car in front of you because you were distracted. You didn't have that minimum safe distance between you and the vehicle in front. And now you're in a rear end crash. And I see this all the time on videos on social media now that we just have, a high percentage of vehicles that all have dash cams in them. One vehicle length, and that will have that buffer of space so that you can get distracted in the vehicle and you won't drive into the vehicle in front of you. 2 to 4 second following distance in a passenger vehicle. If you get into a bigger vehicle or you're towing a trailer, you need to now have 3 to 5 seconds of following distance. And following distance, the vehicle in front passes a fixed object like a sign, a fire hydrant, an intersection, something that's not moving along the side of the roadway. So the vehicle in front passes, you start counting. 1 watermelon, 2 watermelons, 3 watermelons, and you should be going past the same fixed object. 3 seconds of following distance is ideal. Stopping back in traffic 1 vehicle length so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the roadway. That is defensive posturing against being rear-ended. ABS. Always be scanning, shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking when you're moving and changing directions of your vehicle. If you can put those 3 habits, if you can create those 3 habits when you're driving, you will exponentially be a better, smarter driver and significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash, because space buys you time, time buys you options, options prevent crashes. I cannot say that enough, and I continue to repeat that again and again and again. I'll probably have it tattooed on my forehead. I mean, it'd be pretty funny, but have it tattooed on my forehead. Smarter Defensive Driving course is available over at the Smart Drive Test website. You can go over there and pick that up, and you can do the course, and all this information in great detail is in that course on the Smarter Defensive Driving. And for those of you going for a driver's license, if you pick up past your driver's test first time, the Smarter Defensive Driving course is included in that package. So all that is available over at the Smart Drive Test website. Layla, which season is good to do bus road test? Layla, as I say, wintertime. Wintertime, wintertime, wintertime. Don't postpone it until next summer because you got all this crazy traffic on the roadways that you need to deal with. If you can do it in the wintertime, yes, it's going to be a little colder when you're doing your pre-trip inspection. I mean, actually now is probably the best time because the cyclists and the e-scooters and those types of things are starting to go away and it's not really that cold. But if you can do it in the wintertime, you can, dress up warm in ski clothes and snow pants and those types of things. You can go out and there's less traffic on the roadways. There's not as many cyclists. There's not as many motorcycle riders. There's fewer traffic because people just stay home. So I would encourage you, take your test for your bus in the wintertime. Corey's put up the Smarter Driver course package there. Definitely have a look at that. Check that out, especially if you're going for a driver's license. And as I said, to make you a safer, smarter driver, we include both the winter and defensive driving smart courses in that package, and you can pick it up for about $40 US over at the Smart Drive Test website. So definitely check that out, have a look at that. Smarter Defensive Driving, ABS, shoulder checking, MIT, mapping intersection, tracking road users as you're approaching the intersection. So for example, you're coming up to the intersection and you go past a cyclist or a kid on an e-scooter as you're going to the intersection. You get to the intersection, you have to slow down. And you took note of the cyclist that you passed as you approach the intersection. You're going to make a right turn at the intersection. Now you're tracking that cyclist and you're stopping and slowing down as you're approaching the intersection, and you're waiting for that cyclist to go past. Here is a defensive driving advanced tip. Do not pass a cyclist. If you are coming up to the intersection and the cyclist is within half a block of the intersection and you are going to turn right at the intersection, do not go screaming past the cyclist, hammer on your brakes, and then stop and wait for the cyclist to go past you. Because I will tell you what's going to happen. If the cyclist has been riding for any more than 2 weeks, that cyclist is going to go, "You're a dumbass, and there is no way that I am passing you because you're sitting there with your brakes on and your signal on, and I'm thinking you're going to turn in front of me because you didn't see me in the first place because you were too dumb and you just went screaming past me up to the intersection." Just slow down behind the cyclist, stay behind the cyclist, let them go through the intersection, and then make your right-hand turn. Again, this comes back to being predictable on the roadways, because when you go screaming past that cyclist and then you slam on the brakes and sit there with your signal on, you're not being predictable. Because me as a professional cyclist, I do not trust you. I do not trust you, and I will stop and I will bang on your car and I will go, just go. It's the same thing when I'm trying to cross an intersection, and it happens all the time in the suburbs here. I'm at the intersection, I'm timing it, there's a car coming, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna go, and then I can just cross the road. And then they stop and they're like, go. If it is not a designated crosswalk, do not do that. Just go. Just go. Because I don't trust you. I don't trust you to walk in front of you. Because you're not at a controlled crosswalk, and I'm afraid that you're going to stop because you're being nice to me. I know you're being nice to me, and I that's awesome that you're being nice. But it is being unpredictable, and you're probably going to get rear-ended, and then the car is going to get driven into me, and I'm going to get squashed. And then, of course, because you got rear-ended and you're probably driving a Ford Pinto, the whole thing is going to explode into a fiery inferno, or you got Firestone tires on your car, and the whole thing is going to roll over in a big fiery inferno and crash into a tree, and we're all going to be dead. Okay? Just go. Just go. Don't stop for pedestrians unless it is at a designated crosswalk. It's my pet peeve. As you've probably realized, it is my pet peeve. It's the same thing when I'm riding my bicycle and somebody goes screaming past me half a block from the intersection, and then they stop and they hammer on the brakes. All right? Don't do it. Just slow down behind the cyclist, go slow, let them go in front, and then make your right-hand turn. Really, what are we saving? Like 10 seconds? Oh my God, I beat the cyclist because I hate cyclists, because we have this war on our roadways where we hate cyclists, we hate kids on e-scooters, those types of things. Anyway, I digress. We are a long way from defensive driving. There's always a problem between drivers and cyclists. Yes, there are, GG, and it's not just cyclists and pedestrians, and there's just a war. And I mean, you want to see the war is truck drivers and four-wheelers, people driving passenger vehicles. You want to see that war? Oh my God, that is just enormous. And then, of course, truck drivers against cyclists, and then truck drivers against motorcycle riders. And the one the other day was the instant karma, where somebody in a car had done something to the motorcycle driver, and somebody caught it on dash cam at the intersection. The guy in the motorcycle, big dressed Harley Davidson, drives around, kicks the side of the car, and then falls over on his motorcycle. And you're like, oh, that didn't go the way you planned at all. There is battle lines are being drawn on our highways. Gigi, I think that cyclists and drivers are always beefing, honestly, because they just can't get along. Yes, absolutely. And of course, we're in the I hate cars urban planning model right now, where we're just slamming in all these bicycle lanes and we're just taking up space on our roadways. And as I say, if you make roadways for everybody, you're not going to have roadways that will work for anybody. And I was learning the other day, I finally came to the conclusion that roundabouts that are being built, especially here in Western Canada, maybe not so much in Eastern Canada, but here in Western Canada, they're being used as both a roundabout and a traffic calming device. It just blows my mind. Traffic calming device is up there with words of the late 20th century. Man-child, play date, fur baby. Oh, those are words that just drive me crazy. And traffic calming devices. Oh, traffic calming devices. I feel like there should be like a little lullaby playing or those types of things when it's really not anything of what the word describes. Traffic calming device. So speed bumps, for example, in a suburb, it's a car coming up, braking as it comes to the speed bump, boom, over the speed bump, and then as it takes off, right? And there have been many people in suburbs who have speed bumps out in front of their house, and they've gone out and actually rented a skid steer or something and tore them up because they just create so much noise. You know, it's the same thing. Now they're putting these planters on the roadways and those types of things. So like it's a slalom course for car drivers as they're moving through the intersection. There is nothing traffic calming about it. And we've built a new roundabout here in Vernon, and I've gone through it a few times, and I'm like, you know, the first few times I went through it, I'm like, what is wrong with this roundabout? Like, it's not facilitating traffic flow at all, which is what it's supposed to be. And of course, they're safer, they reduce urban noise pollution, those types of things. And then I finally realized that the circle is kind of cockeyed, and the entrances, instead of the entrances coming kind of straight in, the entrances are like this kind of zigzag into the roundabout. And so what I finally realized is they're using the roundabout as a traffic calming device. And they're trying to slow traffic down at the roundabout, which is the complete opposite of what a roundabout is designed for. It's supposed to facilitate traffic flow, not used as a traffic calming device. So that's what they've done. And it's like North American engineers have completely taken the idea of this beautiful roundabout, which facilitates traffic flow, increases traffic safety, and made it into a traffic calming device, which completely undermines the whole purpose of it. You might as well have just left the four-way stop in instead of putting in the roundabout. And I digress yet again. Elevator fan, Carmel, Indiana has the most roundabouts in the United States. Awesome. I got to come there. I got to see if they have done the same thing as Canadian engineers and made them into traffic calming devices, right? All right. Epic. Also for cyclists and motorcycles, extreme caution when on roads to be safe as cyclists use the barrier protected bike lanes. Yes, they do. And the other thing, Epic, exactly what you're talking about in terms of bicycle lanes is that they're great on one street, and then you get on another street and there's no bicycle lane. That makes cycling even more challenging because on one street you have this great, awesome bicycle lane, but then on another street you don't. Artie, I'm 74 and I continue to learn every time I watch you. I want to continue being a safe driver. Thank you, Artie. You are most welcome, my friend. I'm so glad that we can help out, and thank you for sharing your story and tuning in from Arizona there. I think that is absolutely awesome, my friend. Elevator fan, yes. Who knew that traffic safety could be funny? Because it is funny, because it's hilarious. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Always, always a pleasure. Take care. Have a great night. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All the best. Bye now.